growing. So they were able to make artificial or synthetic nitrogen now, and that changed farming in a huge way. No longer did we have to have all the rotation of crops and then cows on it on alternate years to fertilize, and all the shenanigans that we had to do with the pigs and the chickens and all that to make everything balance each out, which I'll cover in a bit. We were able to start growing corn like mad. Until today, we now have a yield of about 220 bushels per acre. It is a phenomenal yield. We can plant them extremely close together, but the trouble is our munitions ran out, and we had to figure out another way to make this nitrogen stuff. Fertilizer. Oil to the rescue. And we now have oil pumping out of the Gulf into our water. We have oil coming from the Middle East and who knows where supplying our fertilizer. 1/5 of all oil production is fertilizer to grow our food. So per bushel of corn, you are talking about 2 gallons of just raw oil. That's how much it takes. It is a pretty unsustainable system that we're in right now, by the way, if you want to get into a philosophical discussion, which is always kind of fun. Because 2 gallons of pure oil, calorie-wise, is worth way more, that's heat units, than this corn. So we are taking out of Earth a lot more energy than we are getting back out of it, aren't we? And it's also not a renewable resource. And therefore, we are using Earth's resources in a very non-renewable way to grow this immense amount of corn that we are going through. Corn has always had a history of being extremely volatile as far as prices goes. And it's a losing proposition for the smaller farmers especially now that we've gone away from the chickens and the dairy and the beef and all the other crops. Now we have, you go to Iowa, just corn and hogs. That's all you see. It's one or the other. So we've gone to a single income source for these farmers, and any of these fluctuations are just absolutely disastrous for them. So the government stepped in and started subsidizing. If it drops below $2.20 per barrel, which is what, or per bushel, then we will step in and start subsidizing it. Right now, corn is selling at about $1.20, $1.30 per bushel. So that means we have to subsidize the farmers quite a bit for them to make a profit and be able to make a living. This subsidizing is wonderful for the farmer, of course. They can now grow corn any year, every year, and we have ended up with this huge surplus of corn. What do we do with it all? Because we're not all going to be chewing on corn on the cobs. And what we have done, being capitalist and innovative, let's find all kinds of uses for corn. And corn is now considered more of a commodity than a food. And we have removed corn out of the food chain, and we've started making adhesives out of it. The shiny stuff in magazines, that's corn. The stuff that's gluing down this wooden floor right here, corn. In fact, the varnish that's on this wood right here, corn. And some of it's used in feedlots. That's a whole other story. I have experience working in feedlots, and I'll tell you some cute stories about that in a bit. But some of that is consumed over there as well. Your toothpaste, mostly corn. And in order to make this corn syrup, takes a bunch of enzymatic processes where corn just gets dumped into one of 4 big companies that we have. It goes through an incredible amount of heating, cooling, chlorination, enzymatic processing, pressing, until finally we get this stuff right here. This stuff is a main contributor to obesity in America because it's 5 times as fattening as real sugar. And believe me, I'm not a proponent of real sugar. But the insulin release that occurs when you sweeten with corn is 5-fold compared to regular sugar. That's why if you absolutely have to drink pop, make sure it's sweetened just with sugar. And even then, if you calculate the amount of sugar, it is scary how much is in one can of pop. You take all the liquid out, this much of it is sugar. Yeah, it is really scary. And So corn syrup equals a huge inflammatory response because insulin equals inflammation, and you're looking at one of the main causes of cardiovascular disease. You're looking at one of the main causes of obesity. You're looking at one of the main causes of our autoimmune inflammatory diseases. We have taken nature away. We've just made it into this commodity that no one has respect for, and there's no real capitalistic borders on it where price determines it because it's all subsidized, and we're just producing more and more and more, and we're trying to push it into our stomachs in all kinds of innovative ways at a severe cost of health, as well as a severe cost of environment. The stuff is cheap, but really it's extremely expensive when you really look at it that way. It's extremely expensive. So this is just one of the ingredients that I've tried to have you follow through its history a little bit, and it's the machination of mass production, and finally end up with corn syrup. 10% of our corn, by the way, goes to ethanol, which is our gasoline, and it's remarkable how innovative we have become. Yeah. But what most people don't realize, when we're making ethanol, it took a lot of oil to make that ethanol, and that's really a shame. Okay. So instead, hop into your car Saturday morning, early, before the crowds get there, so you can zip in and out. Hit the farmer's market. Farmer's market is wonderful. You'll see a wide variety of different things. This one here is from Trillium Farm, one of my favorite places to shop from. I belong to the club of Trillium Farms. In other words, we have a pickup every Tuesday where you just gather up the harvest and take it home and eat whatever they provide. You can see this is some wonderful frisee lettuce. It's first of the year, extremely nutritious. It goes way beyond iceberg lettuce. You'll see beets there. You'll see onions. And, you know, just the onion itself, wow, what a product compared to corn syrup. Onion is, it's very much a Dutch product. And my sister and brother-in-law in the Netherlands have this big onion company. They import and export onions, and they're always telling me to make sure that I spread the word about onions because of all of its health benefits. The Dutch are really have an extremely high yield per acre because the ground is pretty much a premium there. We are crowding 17 million people in an area 1/5 the size of Michigan. And so farmland is very much at a premium, and their yield per acre is about fourfold what we do in this country, which is pretty astounding considering their poor weather conditions. But the allopropyl sulfoxides that's in there is very, very anti-cancerous. It's known to decrease colon cancer substantially if you only have 3 onions a week. We're talking by researchers that your colon cancer incidence goes down by 40% just by 3 onions. 3 onions is not much, folks. You just chop it up, throw it through whatever stir fry or vegetable you have, and you've got it. The white onion is not quite as nutritious as the yellow onion. Vidalia onion is not quite as nutritious. Darn, that's my favorite. But it's still incredibly nutritious. The fiber in there also is very much a weight loss product. If you want to lose weight, folks, start eating onions. It's phenomenal. And you know what's really exciting about onions also is it does so much for sugar regulation. This is incredible for those that have insulin resistance. It activates your insulin receptors. There's a powerful antioxidant in it called quercetin, and quercetin has been known to decrease inflammation very measurably. In fact, quercetin, when I first started here, is something that was one of my main weapons against ADD. And now I finally understand how it works. There's so much of the stuff that we know works, but we didn't know why it worked, but we used it anyway because it's food. And quercetin, we have always had very good success with ADD. And why would that be? How does that work? It's because quercetin is a potent antioxidant which decreases inflammation in the gut wall, which thus decreases